What's up, everybody? It's your boy Dan, the man, here just with a time-lapse video. I made this Smash Bros. Artwork back in March, just inspired by the new game Ultimate coming out. So this is me talking over the creative process and all that junk. I started with like the main concept from the first trailer where it shows off the inkling and all that jazz, and kinda just started on a piece of receipt paper, and then I redrew it here on Photoshop and just added color to the main parts, I guess. So first to the shirt, the body, whatever. And the cool thing was, because it's stylized in such an interesting way, I didn't actually have to do too much coloring, because it's mainly just a lot of black shadows and stuff. So I started with an outline and then colored in from there. As you can see right now, I'm doing the struggling to do the floor sort of shading. This is also my first like major project using Photoshop for digital painting. So as you can see, I'm struggling very much so to do this, but it ended up being okay. Had to really revise that a lot. That honestly may have took longer than most other pieces, but I mean, whatever. You can see right here, back then we had no idea all the outlines, so there was a lot of skepticism on who the characters in the outline for the trailer actually were. So I actually went to this video from Game Explain and just used that to sort of get a good idea on what exactly I was gonna do. It turned out pretty well though. They're super rough drawings, but it's so small, like it doesn't really look that mediocre as it really is. This is also done on such a large scale, actually, that if I did get this printed out onto like a poster, you kind of would be able to see the minor inconveniences, but it's whatever. As you can see, I outlined it for each character and then kinda just paint bucketed it, but it kinda looked stupid. You'll see that later. I used a clipping mask to just color over it. Obviously this does the trick for a moment, but because everything's so like roughly drawn, having them hollow like that actually does not serve a very good purpose, since I added a glowing effect to the Smash Ball once I've done that. Also had to figure out Donkey Kong's head. You know, he kind of looks like a little glob of pudding, or better yet, shit. Little Jimmy Neutron looking ass. But when I figured that out, I mean, they're pretty simple designs. I don't really know who that cross-armed character is between Samus and Link, but I don't know. I'd say Sheik maybe. Bowser was probably like the most inconvenient character to draw out, just because he's obviously more detailed, and doing a big glob doesn't really do the trick for him, so I had to put a little more emphasis on like the claws and the hand shapes and stuff. Captain Falcon was really fun to do. I think if you actually like look at him, he's probably one of the cooler shapes, because you can sort of tell it's him. He just looks so fucking badass. Wario, just at the end there. That's the funny thing, is like a lot of these characters, you actually have no idea if they're in that original picture or not, but I mean, whatever, I used them and I think they look kind of cool. This was me sort of coloring inside. I found out later that this was kind of not the best way I could have done it, but I mean, it was a complete learning experience for me, since, as I said, this is my first, I guess, delving into digital art. So, I mean, I did my best, and it really, when you see the end result, it worked out pretty fine. There's just I wish that I had gone in knowing a little more, because man, like, doing digital art now, I could redo this and do it 100 times faster, because some of the shit that I did was pretty stupid, admittedly, but yeah, gotta learn somehow. Doing more outline stuff, this honestly felt like it took a long ass time, because once I get to the inkling portion, it's just a walk in the park. I also had a problem towards the end where something happened when I rendered it out, and I think I ended up using like a tint different for Kirby. And you can't tell in this video, nor can you really tell in general. It's such a minor difference, but me looking at the picture a million times, I found it and I was very upset. I'm probably gonna go back and fix that, but yeah, this is basically it nearing completion with the outlines. Very stylized. And yeah, I used a little light thing, even though the light source is very obvious. I used that to just sort of get an idea from like right in front of it of what I was doing. This is me playing around with a lot of brushes. I honestly had no idea what I was doing, so this was all just a learning curve sort of deal. I ended up using this little smudgy brush. It looks like a sponge brush, and it kind of worked for what I was wanting to do, because I wanted it to kind of look like scratchy, sort of, you know, like with a pencil you could use that to really get more definition on shading for when there's like a fire nearby, right? And that's the whole idea, is that the Smash Ball is this big ball of fire. How it turned out, I'd say it worked out quite well. It took me time to figure out what I was doing, like I said, so you can see right here, this is me fucking around a lot with layers and stuff. Honestly, like I said, a lot of this was kind of done a little stupidly, and if this wasn't so heavily shaded, I could not get away with half the shit that I did. In hindsight, I should have just put the little inkling hair things, the droopies, behind the arms, but I didn't, and I think I ended up either erasing the little portion that's covered or what. I don't know. It looks pretty silly, but I mean, whatever, man. When I get an idea and I have to do it, I just do it. Like, that's all I can really say to people. If you ever have an idea, do what it takes, even if it seems a little silly. This was more of me doing some more shading. It turned out pretty good. Did a little more details there. The shoes were a little awkward, but when I finished it, I was very happy. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, since it's, I don't know, I didn't do it layered. Like, nowadays I would have done every portion of the shoe layered on a different layer, but I didn't. I did them all on one layer, and it kind of was something that kicked me in the ass after, but I mean, it's like doing a real painting at that point, so I'm not gonna complain too much about it. And it looks good. Like, it worked out pretty well, I'd say. Doing a little more detailing on the erasing. My favorite part, I would say, is probably the gun. I'm not there yet, but figuring out how I was gonna do the stupid ink tank was kind of funny. I ended up just erasing half of it, since it's a clear cylinder, and I mean, if the back of the inkling is so dark, what's the point of showing what's behind it? Because there's no light to see it, right? The inkling gun, though, my god, this was awesome. Basically, just did the technique I did with everything else, but because it's so cylindered, it just turned out really well. This was my favorite part, the Smash Ball. Funny thing, this was kind of completely accidental. I was going to do a fiery texture. Thank God I didn't, because it made it so much more stylized when I did the gradient down. I got the idea because I took a picture of it on my Snapchat, and what ended up happening was, with the way my screen looks at a certain angle, it makes the image gradient, so it made it look darker at the top, and I was like, oh my god, this is totally what it needs to look like. The shadows on the floor, that was probably the biggest pain in the ass I've ever dealt with, because I'm not used to doing shadows, like, at all, and especially something sort of realistic. So you can see I fucked around a lot and ended up just starting from scratch there. This is sped up so much. This took me hours, and I'm not proud to say it, but it was worth it, because in the end, it looked pretty good, looking sort of like that. So, you know, this is basically it, just the finishing touches. And that is the signature. Just like that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is my first time-lapse, so any feedback is pretty sweet. I have all the music used down in the description. Thanks to anybody who watched this far. I also have the version without audio, or without my luscious voice. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.